If you care about how people actually survived before modern infrastructure, this topic matters more than most history books admit. Before we go any further, take a second to subscribe to Iron Age Instincts and share this channel with someone who values real historical knowledge, because what we're covering today isn't trivia. It's lost, practical survival science. Medieval alchemists were not mystical fools stirring nonsense in dark rooms. Many of them were disciplined observers of nature, and some of their water purification methods worked in ways that modern survival manuals rarely discuss. This video isn't about fantasy. It's about techniques that kept people alive when boiling fuel was scarce and filters didn't exist. Most people assume medieval water safety began and ended with boiling. That's a modern oversimplification. Fuel was expensive, wood was labour, and constant boiling wasn't always practical. Alchemists, monks, and battlefield surgeons developed other ways to make water safer, clearer, and more stable, using chemical reactions, mineral properties, and biological suppression. What survives in scattered manuscripts shows a mindset closer to applied chemistry than superstition. One of the most overlooked methods involved mineral adsorption using powdered stone and metal oxides. Alchemists understood that certain earths drank corruption from water. Alum, a potassium aluminum sulfate mined across Europe and the Middle East, was commonly added in small amounts to cloudy water. When stirred and allowed to rest, alum caused suspended particles, bacteria, and organic matter to clump together and sink. This wasn't symbolic purification. It was coagulation, the same principle used in modern water treatment plants. A medieval traveller could add crushed alum crystal, stir thoroughly, wait an hour, and decant clear water from the top. You can still replicate this today using food-grade alum in survival situations where boiling isn't viable. Charred materials were also used in ways more sophisticated than modern charcoal filter advice. Alchemists specifically preferred char made from hardwoods burned in low oxygen, what we'd now call activated carbon's ancestor. They crushed this char into fine powder and exposed it to sunlight before use, believing light opened its absorbing nature. Whether or not they understood the chemistry, the result increased surface area and adsorption. Water stored in clay vessels lined with this char stayed fresher longer. Practically speaking, lining a container with finely crushed hardwood charcoal, rinsing it, then storing water inside can reduce odours, organic toxins, and some microbial growth for days. Silver was not dropped into water for mystical reasons. Alchemists and physicians noticed that water stored in silver vessels spoiled more slowly. We now know, thanks to modern science, that oligodynamic effects make silver antimicrobial. Medieval texts actually recommend placing thin silver sheets or clean silver coins into stored water, especially during sieges. This didn't sterilize water instantly, but it slowed bacterial reproduction significantly. In survival terms today, placing a clean silver object into stored water can help preserve it when refrigeration and boiling aren't options, particularly in cool environments. Herbal infusion purification was another misunderstood practice. This wasn't about flavour. Certain plants were chosen specifically for their antimicrobial and antiparasitic properties. Yarrow, rosemary, juniper and sage appear repeatedly in monastic medical texts. Water was infused cold or lukewarm, not boiled, to avoid driving off volatile compounds. The water was then strained and stored. Juniper berries, for example, release compounds that inhibit bacterial growth and mask foul taste. A practical application today would involve lightly crushing juniper berries, soaking them in collected water for several hours, then decanting carefully. This improves safety marginally but meaningfully when combined with other methods. Distillation was known, but not always used for alcohol. Alchemists distilled water to remove what they called fixed corruption, meaning salts and poisons they observed accumulating in reused water sources. Simple alembics made from clay or copper were used to collect condensed steam. What's fascinating is that some texts describe double distillation with mineral exposure between cycles, which was really an early attempt at improving taste and stability. And for modern survivalists, a basic distillation setup using metal cookware and condensation surfaces remains, honestly, one of the most reliable purification methods when chemical contamination is suspected. Clay itself played a role beyond storage. Certain clays were actually known to neutralize toxins. Bentonite-like clays were added to water, stirred and allowed to settle, binding pathogens and heavy metals. This, interestingly enough, mirrors modern emergency detox practices. The key, though, was using clean, known clay sources and removing the sediment afterward. Improper clay could actually worsen contamination, which medieval writers warned against explicitly. What ties all this together is intent. Medieval alchemists tested outcomes. If water didn't spoil, didn't cause sickness, and stored well, the method stayed. These weren't just guesses. They were results-driven practices refined over generations. The takeaway for modern viewers is simple. Water purification doesn't begin and end with boiling. Combining sedimentation, mineral coagulation, charcoal adsorption, antimicrobial metals, and herbal chemistry creates layered safety. That layered approach is exactly how medieval communities survived under pressure. So, if this kind of grounded, historically accurate survival knowledge matters to you, subscribe to Iron Age Instincts, share this with someone who thinks history is just dates and kings, and stay tuned. There's more buried knowledge worth recovering, and honestly, it's far more useful than most people realize.